All of us are looking into the great unknown. And anytime we're in a transition, one of the primary things that all of us need when it comes to transitioning is faith. You've got to have faith to transition well. If you have faith in God, then you can put it there. If you don't have faith in God, if you're stepping into a transition, then you need to put it in yourself or in science or your bank account or your health or whatever else. But all of us, anytime we're in transition, we're entering into the unknown, it requires some type of faith to take a step forward. We all need more faith. So where does faith truly come from? And we're going to find the beginning of that answer in Exodus chapter 34. You can turn there or it will be on the screen. These are some of the most significant words. This is not an overstatement. Some of the most significant words in all of Scripture. Exodus 34 is just after Moses has asked the Lord, asked Yahweh, will you show me your glory? And God says, yes, I will hide you in the cleft of the rock and I will allow all of my goodness to pass before you. And then as God is passing before Moses, he says these words. This is God's self-description of who he is and how he wants us to understand him. Verse 6 of chapter 34 in Exodus. The Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of the parents to the third and the fourth generation. This is God's description of himself. Whatever you think about God, and we all think something about God, if it doesn't line up with this, it's inaccurate. It's inaccurate because this is the original. This is the ultimate understanding of who God is. God knows this about us, that we're going to go through life and we're going to experience certain things in life, and we're going to be tempted to interpret who God is based on what we experience. And if this is not our anchor, but our anchor is placed somewhere else, our thoughts about God will fluctuate just as much as our circumstances do. From the very beginning, God has been attempting to convince the human heart that he is a faithful God who can be trusted. And he wasn't only doing that in Scripture, but he's doing it in our lives in a million different ways as well. And his faithfulness in Scripture isn't just to impress us. It's not just to get our attention, but it's actually to inspire our faith in return. God doesn't just display his faithfulness to say, look at me, aren't I great? He displays his faithfulness to say, trust me and follow me. Here's how you know if you have presumptive faith or rooted faith, is that when the prayer doesn't get answered the way you hoped it would get answered, do you walk away or do you worship? That'll let you know, like, am I guilty of presumptive faith? You didn't do for me what I expected you to do, and so I'm no longer giving you my devotion. Or do you worship? You say, God, even in the midst of the unknown, even in the midst of the confusion and the disappointment, I choose to trust in your faithfulness that's been proven with a much longer track record than my small lifespan. And I will continue to hold on through that. Our faith is meant to come from God's faithfulness, a revelation of God's faithfulness. And as we become a steadfast people, both corporately and individually, I believe having a faith that's rooted and grounded in the faithfulness of God is what will allow us to stand firm at all times. But what it will require from us is that we remember who God is. Many of you are walking into 2023 with a little bit of fear, with a little bit of timidity, with some uncertainty around, God, are you really there and do you really care? And do you actually take the best care of me? And you're even sensing yourself right now, hearing me say that and like crossing your arms and leaning back and thinking, I don't, like you're closing your heart off to this reality because of what you've experienced. And Annie, after her year of seeking God on some big things that she believed were for her and not seeing them fulfilled, she writes these words. Sometimes the most beautiful thing is not the empty places being filled, but the empty places being seen. seen by God and seen by others. Sometimes what God is really trying to do in the midst of your hopes and your dreams and your desires that might seem not yet fulfilled, is just to get you close to Him.